السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله على إحسانه والشكر له على تفضله وامتنانه، ولا إله إلا الله تعظيما لشأنه، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله داعي إلى رضوانه وعلى آله وأصحابه وإخوانه. أما بعد. إخواني في الله, we're continuing with our lecture series regarding the signs of the Day of Judgment. We're looking at the minor signs of the Day of Judgment. So far, from the signs that we have taken, number one, the coming of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Number two, the splitting of the moon. Number three, the death of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Number four, the conquering of Bayt al-Maqdis. Number five, the plague of Amwas that killed many of the Sahaba. Number six, there'll be so much wealth amongst the Muslims that people will not be accepting sadaqah. And number seven, Fitnah. There'll be a lot of trials and tribulations on the ummah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We are concluding with this topic. There was a long topic regarding fitnah that will appear in the ummah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam says that the fitnah will be there so much so that a person will be a believer in the evening and a disbeliever in the morning. Another person will be a believer in the morning and a disbeliever in the evening. يَبِيعُ دِينَهُ بِعَرَضٍ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا. He sells his faith for a small worldly gain. From amongst the fitna we took in the previous lessons is the fitna of the sect known as the Mu'tazila, the sect of the philosophers. They came with a claim saying that the Qur'an is not the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the belief that we have as the Muslims. But they claimed that the Qur'an is a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which was an evil statement that they did. So they punished the scholars, they tortured the scholars, and they executed and killed some of the scholars in this fitna of claiming the Qur'an is not the word of Allah, but a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ma'adallah amma qalu. Taib. From amongst the people who stood firm against them is a man called Imam Ahmed Ibn Hambel al-Shaybani. This man was a great scholar of hadith, a great scholar of fiqh. But after he was imprisoned, after he was whipped, tortured, and kept under house arrest, he became the Imam of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. And he used to say to the people of Bid'ah, بَيْنَنَا وَبَيْنَكُمُ الْجَنَائِزِ. Between us and you is the day of our funerals. We shall see on the day of our funerals who amongst us was on the correct path. He used to say to them, بَيْنَنَا وَبَيْنَكُمُ الْجَنَائِزِ. Imam Ahmed, he was born in the year 164 of the Hijri calendar. He passed away in the year 241 of the Hijri calendar. And Ikhwani fillah, in the history of Islam and Jahiliyyah, at the time they say, in the history of Islam and Jahiliyyah, we have never seen a bigger funeral than the funeral of Imam Ahmed Ibn Hambel. He says 1.8 million people attended his funeral from the people of Baghdad and around Baghdad. 1.8 million, including the Jews and the Christians of Baghdad. It was one of the greatest funerals ever witnessed. His colleague, his companion, Ali ibn Madini, he says, أَيَّدَ اللَّهُ هَذَا الدِّينَ بِرَجُلَيْنِ لَا ثَالِثَ لَهُمَا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given victory to this ummah with two men. There's no third amongst them. Allah has given victory to this ummah with two men. There's no third amongst them. And he says, بِأَبِي بَكْرِ الصِّدِّيقِ يَوْمَ الرِّدَّةِ وَبِأَحْمَدَ بْنِ حَنْبَلٍ يَوْمَ الْمِحْنَةِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given victory to this ummah with Abu Bakr as-Siddiq when the Arabs apostated. After Prophet ﷺ passed away, most of the Arabs, they left the religion of Islam. And this man, who in appearance looked weak, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, but out of strength, he brought them back all to the fold of Islam. And he says, Ali al-Madini, وَبِأَحْمَدَ ibn Hanbal يَوْمَ الْمِحْنَةِ. And with Ahmed ibn Hanbal, Allah gave victory with the statement of the Qur'an is the word of Allah, that all the Muslims believe up to today, it is the word of Allah and not a creation of Allah. Ikhwani fillah, we mentioned the sect known as the Khawarij, the extremist sect that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had warned against. 6,000 of them left the army of Ali and they secluded themselves in Harura. And the great Imam Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma went to debate with them, and he managed to bring back 2/3 of them. 4,000 of them came back to the fold of the Muslims. Today also we mentioned one of the debates that ended this foolishness and this bid'ah and this trial of the scholars of claiming the Qur'an is a creation of Allah. So there's a man, he comes from the land of Asham. It's called Abu Abdurrahman Abdullah ibn Muhammad ibn Abdurrahman al-Adrami. So this Imam, he's brought in chains. He's brought in chains to the Khalifa al-Wathiq billah. The Khalifa is happy and glad when he sees this man, and he feels a little bit shy. This is a person, is a scholar with a beard, but he's in chains because he's refusing to say the Qur'an is a creation of Allah. So Al-Wathiq greets him and welcomes him well. Then he tells him, Ya Abdullah, oh Abdullah, this is Ahmed Ibn Abi Duwad, one of our great scholars who is calling the people to this issue of the Qur'an is a creation. Debate with him. So the Imam Al-Adrami, rahimahullah, he says, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, innahu yad'ufu wa yaqillu an munadharati. Oh Amir al-Mu'mineen, this man is not able to debate against me. He's not able to debate against me. He's weak when it comes to the debate. The Khalifa, Al-Wathiq billah, got very angry. And he left his previous behavior towards this old man. He got very angry. He says, you're saying that this leader, our scholar, who was there at the time of Ba'amun, at the time of Mu'tasim, my time, he's our scholar for the last 20, 30 years, that he's weak to debate with the likes of you? Says, the Imam Al-Adrami says to him, Hawwin alayk. Take it easy, I shall debate with him. Says, this is the reason I brought you here, to debate with Ahmed Ibn Abi Duwad. So the Imam Al-Adrami, he turns to Ahmed Ibn Abi Duwad. He says to him, Ya Ahmed, I ask you a number of questions, and the Khalifa is witness to what we're going to say. This thing you're calling people to, kindly tell me, what are you calling the people to exactly? Says, I'm calling the people to say the Qur'an is a creation of Allah, because everything other than Allah is creation. That is what you're calling the people to. Type. The first question I want to ask you, is this thing that you're calling people to wajib? Is it obligatory? So much so that if you don't believe it, your religion is not complete? Says, yes, your religion is not complete unless you believe this. Okay. Says, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he was sent, did he hide any from the revelation that he was given by Allah? Did he hide anything from the revelation? Ahmed Ibn Duwad says, no, he did not hide anything. Then he says, أَدَعَ النَّاسُ إِلَى مَا قَالَتِكَ هَذِهِ. Did he call the people then to this statement of yours? He says, no. He did not call them. Answer. Ahmed Ibn Duwad keep quiet. He did not call them. Answer. He keeps quiet. Says, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, O Amir al-Mu'mineen, bear witness, 1-0. Bear witness, 1-0. Type. Second question. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا. On this day I have perfected my favor upon you and I have completed my favor upon you and perfected the deen, and I have chosen for you Islam as your religion. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to us that He has perfected and completed our faith, was He lying or saying the truth? Who amongst you is saying the truth? You, by saying the religion is not complete until you say this statement, this evil statement of yours that the Qur'an is a creation, or we believe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who in the Qur'an says that the religion was complete? Ahmed keeps quiet. Says, Ya Ahmed, Ajib, oh Ahmed, answer my question. Keeps quiet. Says, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, 2-0, ithnatan. That is 2-0. Number 3, Ya Ahmed, هذه مقالاتك أجاهلها عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أم علمه? Was the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام ignorant about this issue of yours, or was he knowledgeable about it? He says, بل علمه. He used to know about it. طيب. أدعى الناس إليها. Did he call the people to believe in this or to follow this statement of yours? Kept quiet. Did he call the people? Did he call the people? He kept quiet. طيب. Amir al-Mu'mineen, 3-0. Question number 4. Was it not sufficient for Prophet Muhammad ﷺ that he took this matter not to be important, that he did not call the Muslims to it? Abu Bakr did not call the Muslims to it. Umar did not call the Muslims to it. Uthman did not call the Muslims to it. Ali did not call the Muslims to it. He says, yes, they did not call the Muslims. Leaves him, he looks at the Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, is it not sufficient for you that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam did not call the Muslims to this bid'ah that you're calling us to. And Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman, all of them kept quiet. They did not call all the Muslims, but you are torturing us and you're forcing us with this evil statement that we do not understand the like of. The Khalifa started crying. He says, Wallahi, I will not do something that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, that Abu Bakr, that Umar, that Uthman, that Ali, they did not do. It is sufficient for me what they did. They kept quiet. I am going to keep quiet on this issue henceforth. He says, remove the chains from the Imam. So the chains are removed from the Imam al-Adrami, and he takes his chains, he put them, they're like handcuffs, and he puts them in his pocket, and he wants to leave the gathering. He says, yeah, Imam, what are you doing carrying those chains? He says, I want the person who is going to do my coffin when I die to bury me with these chains, so that on the day of judgment, I shall stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and say to Allah, oh Allah, ask your servant Ahmed Ibn Hambel why he chained me, why he gave my family and my friends so much anguish, so much stress, and they left me he removed me from my family. Ask this servant why he did this harm to me. The Khalifa started crying, and the Imam al-Adrami, he started crying. The Imam of the Muslims, Al-Wathiq Billah, the Khalifa, he says to Al-Adrami, please forgive me. Al-Adrami says, Wallah, I forgive you. I forgave you way before this because of your closeness in relation to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I already forgave you. He says, then stay with us, teach us from your knowledge, O Imam. He says, no, I have to go back to my family to stop them making dua against you and your family, because I left them in that state of anguish and they were making dua against you. Let me go back to my family. That is better for you if I stop them from making dua against you. Akhwani fillah, this Imam, with these words of intellectual debate, was able to finish off this fitna that was known as history as the fitna of Khalqul Qur'an. And these rules or these steps he kept is very important for us as a Muslims when it comes to all acts of ibadah. Ask yourself, the religion is complete when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed, Al-Yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum. Whatever was not a religion those days will not be a religion now. Are you together? Whatever was not the religion those days cannot be a religion right now. And point number two, whatever the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not practice, whatever Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, all these greats of Islamic history, they did not practice. Do you know better than them? Are you more righteous than them? Are you closer to Allah than them? No, you're not. So based on this debate, leave all that. Akhwani fillah, one of the topics that we as Muslims or students of knowledge, I don't know if there are any students in the Islamic universities, we need to research the debates of the righteous people. And the best debater that you can find in the Qur'an is which prophet? There's a prophet of Allah, is one of the greatest debaters, Nabiullah Ibrahim alayhi salam. Nabiullah Ibrahim alayhi salam used to use intellectual debates. He was from the land of Iraq, also from the land of Iraq. He used to use intellectual debates against his family. He says, it is the big sanam that actually did it, so that these people can think that the big sanam is the one that destroyed all these other sanams. Also the scholars of Islam, they used to have interesting debates when it comes to people who had left the correct path. So this is something very interesting. For example, Sheikh Al-Albani is from Albania. One day a person comes to him and he says to him, I want to tell you that I have the knowledge of the unseen, ilmul ghaib. I can see the future, ilmul ghaib. I want to debate with you. This is one of the shortest debates in history. So Sheikh Al-Albani says to him, you want to debate with me? Taib. I have one condition. I have one condition. He says, what is the condition? He says, you tell me, you know the future. You tell me, you know the future. And the debate ended over there. Ikhwani fillah, these are the signs of the Day of Judgment. From what we have taken previously, sign number one was the coming of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Question, why is the coming of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam considered one of the signs of the Day of Judgment? Sign number two was the splitting of the moon. When did the splitting of the moon occur? Which surah of the Qur'an is the splitting of the moon mentioned? Which mountain did this splitting of the moon occur? Sign number 3, the death of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What is the date that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam died? Where was he buried? Why was he buried in that particular spot and not anywhere else? Sign number 4, the conquest of Bayt al-Maqdis. Why did the Muslims feel for it to be important for them to conquer the city of Jerusalem? Is there any benefit to us conquering the city of Jerusalem? Which year did it occur? Who was the Khalifa of the Muslims? And what was the agreement that was signed between the Muslims and the people of Jerusalem? Sign number 5, the plague of Amwas. What did Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam tell us about this plague? Who amongst the people from the Sahaba who passed away in the plague of Amwas? Sign number 6, there will be so much wealth amongst the Muslims that no one will be accepting sadaqah. This happened at the time of which Khalifa? What was the story that this Khalifa, which year did he lead and which year did he die, and what is his name? Sign number 7, we mentioned there will be a lot of fitnah in this ummah. Question number 1, in which direction is the fitnah coming from? In which direction is the fitnah coming from? The killing of which man in particular is the very first great fitnah to occur in this ummah? Where was he killed? Who is this man? What is his story? After he was killed, what happened to the Sahaba? Why did they go out and fight amongst each other? Who amongst the wives of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was present in that battle? Who died in that battle from the 10 who were promised Jannah? After the battle, the people of Iraq and the people of Syria had differences. Who was the leader of the people of Iraq? Who was the leader of the people of Syria? What is the battle that occurred amongst them called? Where did it happen? How many of the Muslims lost their lives? After the battle, a group from amongst the Muslims, an evil sect, they secluded themselves from the Muslims and they started fighting the Muslims. What is the name of this group? What are the attributes of this group? The fitna of claiming the Qur'an is a creation of Allah. Who brought this fitna? Who was the Khalifa of the Muslims when this fitna started spreading? Who was he afraid of? Of which Imam was he afraid of? So he did not spread the fitna first. Then he started spreading the fitna. Which scholars lost their lives in this fitna? And which scholars stood firm against them? So much so that he became known as the Imam of Ahlul Sunnah. Who is the scholar that debated against them and finished this fitna for all of time? These are questions, inshallah. You can review them on the station MTV, and whoever answers them will get a present, inshallah. Because all the answers are in the other lectures. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.